Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to TSK F1. My name's Rich, and this is your 20-30 minute or so dose of F1 news. Now, we're going to try something new in the chat, which is a new Q&A feature. I've started it, but do you think... Let's try this. Let's try this. I don't know if that's going to work, but we'll try that. We'll try that. Right then. Good morning, good morning. We've got lots of news. We're going to be talking about Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton and their rivalry. We're going to be covering a bit about the Chinese Grand Prix. We're going to be looking at sponsors leaving Formula One. We're going to be looking at Daniel Ricciardo and a few other things. So let us start, as we mean to go on, with some Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton news. Now, a lot of people on the internet like to make such a massive thing about the rivalry that these two have, right? And I think in a lot of sports that the fans make rivalries way, way, way more than they are in reality. So what we have, obviously, is most people like to think that Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton hate each other. Whenever either of them makes a comment or a quote, people nitpick it. And also, the fans of either driver like to just have a go at each other constantly. So I thought it was good when I read this morning. It was Lewis Hamilton speaking about Max Verstappen and Red Bull. Lewis quoted as saying, "I think he's done an amazing job. He's done everything he had to do. The team provided him with an amazing car, and he's delivered pretty much every weekend. He can be proud of the job he's done. I know what it feels like to be in a position like that." Right. And one thing I immediately want to say is, don't pick that quote apart and just say he has praised the car and said it's all about the car. He has still said he's done an amazing job. He's done everything he needs to do. Like, that's a straight up compliment and niceness from Lewis Hamilton. And then the team have provided him with an amazing car. Factually, it is. It's Adrian Newey's best ever car. So it's an amazing car, and he's delivered pretty much every weekend, which he has. So it's just it's nice to see that, I think, and get a quote like that out of Lewis Hamilton about Max Verstappen. People will pick that quote apart, but for me, you have to take it as he said it. There's nothing wrong with that quote. He can be proud of the job he's done. I know what it feels like to be in a position like that. So, it's yeah. I just thought I'd bring that to you. There's also one second. Oh, what it meant to the team to be in runner-up slot, and he said he can see how important it is for Mercedes to deliver. I was just reading that extra quote, basically for Mercedes and the wider team to deliver there. I started the Q&A thing. I don't even realise. Oh, here we go. Let's have a look here. I'm trying this Q&A thing. It's literally brand new today, this Q&A thing in chat. So if I click this and then click this, I don't know what that's done. Who's your favourite driver if you remove Alonso and Schumacher? Ooh. Ooh, there's one. Who's your favourite driver if you remove Alonso and Schumacher? I think I'd have to go with... I don't know, you know. I'd have to think about that. I'd really have to think about it. I mean, Seb, but he's about to retire. I don't know. I don't know, you know. I'd probably have to go with Lewis. I really like the person he seems to have matured into. I'd have to go with Lewis after Seb. So Lewis would be like fourth, I think. Probably, maybe, but I haven't really thought about it. So we'll have to see on that. But it's just nice. I thought I'd report an actual good quote from Lewis Hamilton about Max Verstappen, because whenever either of them make a comment, like I've seen Lewis Hamilton praise Red Bull and Max before, and then people are like, well, Lewis didn't even say Max's name. And in this quote, he hasn't, but he's been asked directly about him, and he's saying he's done a great job. So, you know, I just feel it's important to share those things. I feel it's important to share those things. Now, the next thing is Daniel Ricciardo. Now, some of the stuff, I don't know. I still don't really understand his position. Now, it's seeming more and more that Mercedes and Red Bull reserve driver roles are going to be what he ends up with. Or either or. And I'm a bit confused as to some of the stuff he's saying. Maybe he's making it seem alright, but really it's not. But he's turned down roles in V8 supercars, and he's turned down roles in IndyCar. He has turned down roles in those series. And he's basically saying he will bring uniqueness to a reserve driver role pretty much because of who he is, really. But I think he's also talking about the fact he's driven these cars this season as well. So as a reserve driver, he'll bring quite a lot of experience, which I kind of agree. But he's talking about how he doesn't want to just jump on the grid next year. He just doesn't want to jump in and drive anything next year. And that he's quite looking forward to taking some time for himself and kind of falling back in love with the sport. We have seen this before. We've seen it before with Michael Schumacher, actually. He completely fell out of love with the sport and wanted to come back and try and be stronger. And Danny Rick's talking about working on his own fitness, and he's saying, I want to take this opportunity to make sure I get enough time for myself to feel the way I need to feel about the sport again, which I think is right. I think it's right. I'd probably say George. Now you've just mentioned George. George probably before Lewis, probably. I was put on the spot there. Now, it's an interesting one because does Danny Rick get back into the grid? And we've spoken about this quite a lot on this channel now. And I just don't know where Danny Rick gets back into the grid. I honestly don't. So, yeah, it's a bit of a curious one for me. It is a bit of a curious one for me that he's wanting to take time for himself and things like that. Now, do you think the case of Danny Rick is the same as Kimi? Because Kimi was similar. Do you think it's the same kind of thing or not? That's a question I put out to you guys. See, something within me rates that Kimi Räikkönen higher than this Daniel Ricciardo. But I'm also, it kind of confirms what I've been thinking, that his head's not in it right. He strikes me as that kind of individual. Obviously, I don't know him in any way, but he seems like the type of guy who needs his mental space to be right, for all the chips to fall into place and things are right for him. And for a good while, I don't think he's felt like that at McLaren for whatever reason. Have you heard about Lando's food poisoning and De Vries had a seat fitting? Yes, but McLaren are saying he's going to race. It's just a precaution. I mean, if he continues being ill, he continues being ill. But I didn't think I would cover that this morning because I think everyone has sort of heard about that and knows about that. So I didn't think I'd cover that this morning because it seems like he's going to race. China. Now, we've got a little bit there's more than just China to talk about here, but we will talk about the Chinese Grand Prix. Now, Stefano Domenicali, the F1 CEO, has admitted that the Chinese GP could be scrapped from next year's calendar because the COVID situation in the country remains an issue. Now, I don't know about all that, but he's saying it's not certain that they'll race there in 2023. Now, I don't want to make this into a conversation about COVID, whether all of that nonsense. If a country or a sport decides they're not going to go there, then that's up to them, and that's fine by me. But he's basically said that they will not struggle to fill that spot. That they have many circuits ready should that happen. And he said though a substitute race isn't necessarily the plan for 2023. Sam, China is a huge country, mate. I don't know where they had the Winter Olympics, but China is a huge country. Where did they have the Winter Olympics? Winter Olympics, China. So they were in Beijing, and the F1 track's in Shanghai. So that's all I'll say on that. It's a different place, basically. I mean, they are massive distances apart from each other, is what I'll say on that. But I'm not an epidemiologist. As I said, I'm not getting involved in any of that. If Formula One deem it's unsafe to go there, that's up to them, isn't it? Because the thing you have to remember as well, Sam, is that from Shanghai, they will go to another country straight after, or before that, they'll go into China. Now, China might have rules going into China, and then the country that they're going to after might have rules coming out of China. So, it's not that simple. Whereas the Olympics are just what they are. So, with 24 races, though, they're already approaching the limit, but you can never say it's over. I really don't want them to add many more races. I really don't. I've been pretty vocal about this. I really don't want them to add any more races. I think it's plenty enough. I really, really do. Now, I don't know how to use this Q&A thing because I'm clicking on the plus button and it's not doing anything. Maybe I've done it wrong, but never mind. Today we are there because success and it's incredible, but if we find a balance, I think it's fine. I don't want them. I don't think it'll be 30. I don't think they'll do 30, Sam. I don't think they'll do 30. That's insane. But also in other news as well, they're announcing that Mercedes have said that at least for this weekend in Brazil, the logos of the collapsing cryptocurrency exchange FTX will remain on the car. Again, I don't know anything about that, but the logos are going to remain on the car. Maybe you're involved in cryptocurrency yourselves and know about that, but Mercedes are keeping their logos on the car. I guess they're seeing if it really does collapse or anything like that. I think I did read something to do with FTX and Binance or something. It's also been reported that Emirates, the Dubai-based airline, is set to leave Formula One after failing to agree terms for a new global sponsorship. Early rumours suggest that Qatar Airlines is going to replace them. While that seems all first world problems, sponsor money and things like that are what keeps the sport going. So yeah, there you go. Just little tidbits of news on top there. Now, Fernando Alonso, as you know from the chat, you might know anyway from the chat, I am a Fernando Alonso fan, a fan of Fernando Alonso, I am, and he has made, he's very outspoken anyway, but he has made some comments which, I don't know, but let me read them to you. Let me read them to you. I mean, this bit, I think after 2022, I'll be extremely lucky next year. He has had bad luck. I did look it up. He claimed he thinks his retirements through reliability have cost him 60 points. And looking back, it is very close to 60 points, which really changes the complexion of where he's at within the championship. Though he said that Aston Martin are far more ambitious than Alpine. And I do believe this. If you know anything about the whole Aston Martin project, we can say anything we want about Lawrence and Lance Stroll. The fact is, Lawrence Stroll is spending a staggering amount of money, or has spent a staggering amount of money to create an entirely new campus for Aston Martin, new wind tunnels, new technology centres, new staff facilities, just everything brand new, as good as it can be. So I've been saying for a long time now that I believe Aston Martin will really surge forward at some point. But what we've seen is Alonso says the early goal is to try to fight for world championships in 2023 and 2024. And the reporter said, really? And he said 100%. Aston Martin is not here to finish 5th, 6th or 4th in the Constructors' Championship. They're here to win championships, and that is what we'll try to do in 23 and 24. Now, I realise he's going to make bullish comments and really big up the Aston Martin project and the potential for the Aston Martin project. And even as an Alonso fan, I'm a little bit like, really? Really? But do we think it's possible? How is their new base ready, and have they been working in it this year? Now, some of the stuff that people might not be aware of is that Aston Martin really have been recruiting heavily. They have been recruiting so many people in behind the scenes, you know, aerodynamicists, engineers, CNC operators. Just they have been picking. If you think about it, the where Aston Martin is based at Silverstone, you've got half of the F1 grid based around them, and I know for a fact that in the last couple of years they've been taking the best staff from some of the other teams. If you know, you know, but I know for a fact because I've seen and spoken firsthand to the people. But it's so they've been quietly as in it's not widely reported because who cares about Aston Martin, right? I would like this prediction of mine to come true because I'm an Alonso fan, but I think it'd be. Imagine if Aston Martin did make a huge leap. I think it's possible with the staff, with the facilities, that they should make a leap. But we'll see. We'll see. What do you think is possible? Now, Bashok saying 2024 is more realistic. John saying he'd love to see it. What do you think is a possible, genuine goal? I think, personally, I would say regular points next season, because I think they've been in and out of the points, but they've had some nightmarish races of Aston Martin this year. I think the regular points for an Alonso would be good, and then into 2024 really pushing on. Maybe 4th behind the top 3 teams. Well, this is the thing. Are they going to just jump teams like AlphaTauri and stuff, like F1 constructors. Let's have a look at the standings currently. Aston Martin are in front of Haas, AlphaTauri and Williams. So they would have to jump ahead of Alfa Romeo, McLaren and Alpine. Now, they're very close to Alfa Romeo, and they could beat Alfa Romeo if they get some more points, but Alfa Romeo have updated in the last few races. So that'll be interesting to see that fight, actually. If you take away the lead fight, actually, you have Mercedes chasing Ferrari, that's possible, and you have Alpine fighting Mercedes, and then Alfa Romeo fighting Aston Martin. In the Constructors' Championship, there is quite a lot to play for, really, with Haas just 1 point ahead of AlphaTauri. It's pretty crazy, actually. So, at the moment, Aston Martin have got 49 points. Take the fight to McLaren and Alpine has to be the target next year. Then, like you say, push on from 2024. So, Aston Martin have got 49 points this season. McLaren have got 146. So, they've got a lot more points. I'm definitely going to remember his quote for sure. Well, this is the thing. Obviously, I'm a little bit biased because I saw the Fernando Alonso quote. But I wonder what's possible. I wonder what is possible, because I'm sure Martin Whitmarsh is leading their team challenge, their team now at racetracks. I know they've got a lot of engineers. I know they've got a lot of aerodynamicists, and it'll be. I think that is could be one of the stories of Formula One in the next few years. Anything is possible if you just believe, and you're a billionaire and you can just employ anyone and build everything brand new. I think that helps. I think that helps quite a lot. But really, other than that, I didn't have a great deal to speak about this morning. I remember listening to Lawrence Stroll and being convinced by him. Actually, that is a thing that I would check out, guys. There is, if you've not listened to it, Beyond the Grid podcast with Lawrence Stroll. I think it's Beyond the Grid. Something like that. And that also convinced me to Aston Martin's project, because what I think we have to remember is that Lawrence Stroll is a billionaire and he wins at everything. He wins at everything that is done. What is it? Ralph Lauren, is it Michael Kors? Is his something? But there are a few different brands that he's taken that were doing rubbish, and then he's just made them massive, and he's profited hugely from them. And really, these days, F1 is a business. Get the best people and the right people in the right spots. Give them the facilities. Profit. That's basically what I seem to remember his approach is, and that is what he's doing. He's surrounding himself with the best people and putting them to work. There's no doubt in Alonso's talent. Vettel has been off pace for a few years now. If he's lost out on 60 points this season, it's not a huge gap considering. Yeah, but Vettel's a difficult one. Vettel's a difficult one. I think he's still got it. He's just not had the right. He's not had the right team around him. I think he's still got it. He's just not got the right team about him. But there we go, guys. Pierre Cardin. Yeah, that's it. Completely saved Aston Martin road cars. Exactly. And I think people aren't aware of that, John. I honestly think people aren't aware of who Lawrence Stroll actually is and what he does. Is one of those rare sort of special individuals that just wins, you know. But there we go, Brazilian Grand Prix weekend. We've got the sprint race later on tonight, which should be good fun, hopefully. We'll see. If you want to know more about sprint races, check out the video that I posted a few days ago about sprint races in Formula 1. I will be back on this channel on Monday. I don't think I'm going to be doing any watch-alongs this weekend, so I'll be back on this channel on Monday morning. And yeah, if you want to watch some F1 Manager, I'm going to be live in just a few minutes over on Facebook Gaming on Pit Lane's Sim Racing. So, see you later, guys. Thanks a lot. Cheers. Yes, quali tonight. Cheers.